Tools of use line explanation. Hello everyone. Let's now introduce you to some of the tools involved in our entire sketch. For example, I have it in my hand now. This is soft carbon, this is soft carbon, this is medium carbon, and this is hard carbon. We also have a very soft one, and our entire carbon fiber is divided into several carbon systems that are soft and hard. Another tool is the pencil. For example, the pencils I hold in my hand are 4B, 4B, and then there are 2H, HB, 6B, and 8B. It is a variety of pencils that there are. After that, let's introduce carbon fiber first. Let's first introduce carbon fiber to you. The carbon pen is a whole line that everyone can take a look at. This is medium carbon, and it is a little more color off. Yes, when you listen to it, the sound is particularly strong, and the whole graininess is also very strong. Now I will show you a pencil, which is the feeling of a pencil. This is the feeling of a pencil. The pencils are a bit smoother after they finish rubbing the color. The pencil is silvery gray. This one will be slightly yellowish, and the whole color will be a little yellowish. After finishing the whole pencil, the number of strokes will be a lot, and it is easy to divide the picture into very fine parts. When we usually use pencils, we may use even numbers more often. For example, from Yaguang's 14B pencil to 10B, the entire pencil, 14B, 10B, 8B, 6B, 4B, 2B, 2H. Generally, these are commonly used, and after the completion, what will be divided into carbon lead. If we talk about soft and hard carbon in our teaching video, when the teacher says to use soft carbon, when using soft carbon it corresponds to these three numbers. And if you don't use carbon lead, you use these three numbers. If we use medium carbon, we correspond to these three numbers. After finishing, if you use hard carbon, you can correspond to HB and 2H, and you can also change 2B to this side. This is also a junction between soft carbon and medium carbon, and the eraser used after it is completed has this soft eraser. This soft one is the old man's head. This soft rubber is relatively soft. It rubs it well for rubbing some colors that are not particularly heavy. For example, if you look at this position label, the teacher erases it. I can also use the same force in this position, but you can't erase this position. At this time, we also have a hard eraser. For example, the one I use now is a chewing gum eraser. It's harder, and there are also some brands of hard eraser. You can see that this position can be used to wipe the hard eraser to make it cleaner. After that, the feeling of this hard rubber is suitable for rubbing some styling. For example, I want to do some styling in this, and now this inside, I can take a hard eraser and do a thing with this thing. You see, I take a soft eraser, its image is not very good, but it can be done erasers. We mainly use these two tools to finish our entire rubbing. Let me introduce you to the rubbing tools, including this kind of erasing pen, small and large. For example, the teacher is more special, this kind of small erasing pen and this kind of large paper and pen. What does this kind of paper and pen do? To rub this color and apply this color a little evenly. After kneading the ashes, there's also this kind of rubbing stick. This kind of eraser is like the girl wearing makeup. The color that can be rubbed with a rubbing pen will be a little heavier. The wiper will be a little lighter, and you can see that this is the carbon fiber area. You can feel it slightly yellowish in color, and rub the pencil in this area, and it is a little more silvery gray. And what is this tool? This eraser pen. The eraser pen is this head of its whole thing. This head is a kind of rubber, and we can give you a look. You see, I can directly write a white thing on it. This thing is an eraser pen. After that, there is another kind of eraser, like a toothbrush. This kind of thing is a knife eraser. It can be rubbed, and it will rub things more evenly. It can also wipe out a gray surface, which is also a few tools for rubbing. Now we will introduce you to what kind of rubbing tools, pencils, and carbon fibers for wiring. There are also tools such as erasers that are modified and modified that are modified by what is modified. After that, there is still something like a carving knife or a carving knife. If you are younger or feel tired writing pencils, you can buy that kind of joystick style pen learning device. After finishing, what is commonly used in our sketches is the nib of the pen, so let me introduce it to you. For example, if I learn a pen now, I will learn a pen from everyone. Now let's take a look at teaching everyone to learn pencils. Let's see if you can see this piece. When writing a pencil, the whole knife holds the pen like this. Hold it like this. After that, this finger pushes this finger to exert force like this. Slow down to write, slow down. You look at me. Very slow, write and turn. Let it be written a little evenly after writing. You see that we wrote it sharply. Do you see as you write or turn at the same time? Turn the pen. We are teaching everyone to write with a pencil so that you can write like this. The position of this nib is a little sharper. Let's now introduce the paper we will use. For example, the one posted on the teacher's drawing board is small. The small 8-piece paper is also called 8K, and there is a large one, 4K paper. This is a larger 4K paper. You can see that it is twice as large. After that, what is the paper bigger than this 4K paper? After that, what is bigger than 2K is fully open. We usually use this 8K for painting. Because of the camera, 4K will be more harmful and uncomfortable. When you draw like this, you can also train this 8K. After that, there are special requirements, such as when you take the exam. If you use 4K paper, you can practice with 4K paper. After that, let's say that the paper is finished with everyone. Our suggestion is that everyone is talking about the time of drawing paper tape. When you're drawing, you can use this washi tape, and you can see that this is washi tape. What is it used for? You can use this washi tape before you paint. You can tear off a small corner and glue the position of the corner to fix the paper. You can also frame this edge with a layer of edges, let it be peeled off, and then it is very fair. This is a useful use of washi tape. After that, what is the use of our paper tape? Let me tell you, I'm not used to it, so you can try it. For example, when you draw, you can give it a package of this position. If you pack a pack, you will have a piece of paper tape when you draw, because this little finger is still often pressed against it. In this way, the picture is not easy to rub dirty, or if you don't have to do it, it is easy to rub dirt while drawing. This is the relationship between washi tape, and this is the whole class of tools that we can touch on in sketching. Now after that, there are also drawing boards, easels, and so on. Everyone understands this very well. If the conditions are not too permissible and do not need to make these things, you can buy a small sketchbook, and you can also buy a sketchbook. After finishing this piece, I would like to introduce you to a special eraser. I've been using this for a long time, and you can take a look at it. It's like a little blackberry ball. It's also an eraser. This is a malleable rubber that feels a bit like this plasticine. I used to use it to support and pull repeatedly because it is black on the outside and relatively white on the inside. That's right, because the outside is naturally black, and this kind of white thing is given to it. How to use this thing to support it. The more it is supported, the softer it becomes. After you finish pulling, you pinch it to make a small pointed shape. This kind of small point, this kind of position, you can see this small pointed shape. When you finish drawing again, you can use it to adjust some very subtle relationships. For example, if I want to brighten this position a little, I will use it to sweep the dust a little bit, sweep this position a little bit, which is not very useful in the early stage. But in the middle and late stages, this thing is a particularly commonly used thing, and its biggest feature is that it does not produce ink. For example, you see that I rub it, you see I wipe the color. This position is not inked at all. It is very suitable for adjusting the picture light screen. For example, if you look at my position, this position is a bit dirty. I will use it to wipe it. You see that this position is not at all inked, right? Anyway, let's talk about some of the lines in our sketch now. Let's first talk about some of our wiring relationships. The first type of wiring is a long straight line. Now it's a pen, whether you use a pencil or a carbon lead, you look at the middle and back of holding it, hold the pen in the middle and back of it, don't hold it forward, don't hold this position, don't paint like this, you paint like this. It's already very difficult for me to draw. After holding this position, the handle of the pen is aligned with this position in the palm of your hand. Put this position of the palm of your hand against it so that the pen will be stable. Pinch it with your thumb and index finger, and your whole little finger will press against the drawing board. You see that we are holding a drawing board anyway. What does it feel like to look at a long, straight line? Gently and gently, you can see that you can also practice a few of these lines. Practice the line more, because the edge line is very important in the sketch. This thread is characterized by two pointed ends and a little pointed at both ends. In the middle, we probably have all the lines like this. In the middle, everyone who focuses on all directions can practice. The most difficult thing is in this direction. At the beginning, when we were beginners, drawing the line in this direction is relatively difficult. What is it after it is over? You look at them one by one. One. When I was done, I lifted it up. Another one, or maybe it's another one. It is not a pen that does not lift the pen and comes over and over again. It's not that you don't lift the pen, but if you don't lift the pen, there will be this kind of blockage on both sides, and the more you draw, the more chaotic it becomes. Don't move your wrist for this kind of pen. You can see when your wrist moves. If I move my wrist, it is the radian line. Our lines are generally used in the position of finding the shape, in the position of improving the shape. Sometimes this kind of thread is used to improve a position of the shape, where to move the position of the shoulder and the position of the forearm. Don't move. Don't move this position to look at this time. You look at the teacher when he writes. The arms are very straight. Don't be too slow and draw faster. If it's too slow, you won't dare to draw, which is the most common for us. The kind of line that improves the shape of the side edge, this kind of pen edge, is called the side edge side pen. This is probably the approximate angle of the paper and pen and paper. It is about 10 to 15 degrees, and this is the way to compare the side of the paper. Repeatedly pull this, and after practicing for a while, you can move on to the next pen edge. In our entire sketch, there are pen sides, centers, and stand-ups. What is a center? For example, this is a piece of paper and the center is biased towards about 60 degrees, or between 45 degrees and 60 degrees. This pen tip is about 75 degrees to 80 degrees. It's not even 90 degrees. Don't think that teacher Li Feng is not 90 degrees. So if you think about it at 90 degrees, this is very difficult to use. Now let's talk about the long straight line of the draft just now. Now this is a short term and a tone to see how to arrange or hold the pen like this. After finishing, the refill is still in this position of the palm. After finishing, our little finger supports it one by one long, straight and dense. Try to ensure something. The spacing between this thread and the thread is a little even, and the two ends are lighter. The middle position is a relatively heavy cable, and such a cable is suitable for repeated superposition. If you say that both ends are heavy, you think that if you want to line up and paint like this, both sides will come out to block. If there are many variables, it will be messy, and the picture will be particularly messy. This kind of line will show you how fast it is. Its approximate tilt angle of the paper is biased towards the position of the center. When everyone is practicing this kind of line, they have finished practicing in all directions and they can be repeatedly superimposed together and drawn together. There is also a kind of line that is laid out with wires. And what kind of gradient line is it? What is a gradient line? It is from heavy to light. It is colored. From heavy to light, it is a relationship of color scales. How to arrange this kind of line. You see that the pen is relatively heavy. Draw it twice more. This is more powerful and harder. And you can see that the pen is heavy. Slowly push out the color, and then you see from heavy to light. You can't feel the change in color from heavy to light. You see a change from heavy to shallow is the most common of these three lines now. This line is used for form-finding drafting. This line is a large backlight, which means that the entire dark color is spread over a large area. This line is when you go deep into the concrete block, when you lay the color and lay the specific block made up of a shape card out to spread this color. There is also this kind of short-term wire used by Linework, but this kind of line is not very good at designing in the early stage when it will be deeply shaped. It will be used, for example, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This kind of thread will be used in the position of shaping. The less used is to shape this position. This is a thread of lifing. We are the relationship between crosswind, stroke, and favorable wind, which involves a sketch and a line. When we draw in the next words, I will emphasize that you see that this is a side wind line. I will also emphasize that I am arranged in this arrangement of long lines and dense clouds. There will also be this kind of gradient line and this kind of short-term line of favorable wind. At this time, I will emphasize it with everyone. After finishing this lesson, we will have some basic tools for sketching, some basic wiring methods. After we have done some explanations, we can end this lesson.